Hello everyone. Welcome to Lorcana Craze. My name is Mike, and I am a Disney Lorcana content creator, and I specialize in theme and gimmick decks. This will be the first video in the series Themes and Jew. I know it's kind of a basic one, but I'm not good with titles, so we're just going to keep it nice and simple. Today, I'll give a brief explanation of the themes that we have access to, what they are, exactly what types of themes they are, and things like that. And then each consecutive week, we're going to do a deep dive into a very specific theme deck, whether that be, like a typal theme or a gimmick or something like that. But each week, we'll spend time with just one. So in this video today, we're going to go over those basics to what theme and gimmick decks are in Disney's Lorcana trading card game. And if you like what you see by the end of this video, please like, follow, share, subscribe. I go live on Twitch every week, 5 days a week, and then I'm going to be doing these YouTube videos once a week. So yes, if you like it, please like, follow, and subscribe. So theme decks and gimmick decks, they're not always easy to build or even identify what there is or what they are. You're usually looking for very specific types of cards or certain kinds of characters that encompass one particular kind of thing. So first, you have typal themes. Now, these decks are constructed around a character subtype. So for those who are not familiar with what a character subtype is, we have this card here I'll show. It's Mirabelle Madrigal, musically talented. And the subtype for it, we come over here and we have them right here. So they're going to be below the name of the card and above their abilities, or if they have any, their text here. So in this little black bar here, you're going to see with her is Floodborn Hero Madrigal. Those are the subtype of character. So in a typal theme deck, we are revolving around a very specific subtype. So if we were happen to be using Mirabelle, we'd either be putting her in a Floodborn theme deck, a Hero theme deck, or a Madrigal theme deck. So I personally love Madrigals, but yeah, so that is a typal theme. Very specific, runs around a very specific type of character. So, and like I said, that varies. It can vary too, anywhere from heroes to villains and a bunch in between. So next up, you have the character-specific themes. These themes are similar to typal, but they deal directly with one character. So not like one type of character, but one character in general. So an example of that, we'll run through these. We have the Queen, fairest of all. So her ability states that for each other character named the Queen in play, this character gets +1 lore. So a character-themed deck is a deck that revolves around, like I said, one character. So the deck that you'd build for her revolves around just the Queen. And there are a lot of different The Queens in Lorcana right now across multiple ink colors. So you actually can build a 60-card deck that revolves around her. There are others out there, but we will cover those in detail in future videos. So, after that, after the character themes, we have movie theme decks. Now, movie themes are very similar to typal. They're very similar to the other theme decks. However, these decks revolve around one specific movie. So whether that be Mulan, Hercules, Sleeping Beauty, or what have you, whatever we have access to inside of Lorcana, currently and in the future as we go along, those will expand. So with movie theme decks, though, it does separate into two different ways you can play it. So there can be a movie theme deck with 2 inks, just like the standard core format, and you can go play with that. Brooms is a good option for that. Princesses, things like that. But there's not princesses, sorry, like brooms work for a movie theme deck. And then the Queens could work for a movie theme deck. But remember, all cards in that deck are from that movie. So that's actions, items, your songs, your characters, your locations, everything. So you can either do the 2 ink type, or if you're going to a very specific movie themed tournament, in the movie theme format, you're not restricted by ink. Because you have the restriction from the movies that you can only do 1, you can use all 6 inks in your deck if you want. If you can, your kind of choice there. But that is for those specific tournaments. If it's not a movie themed tournament, odds are you'll need the 2 ink version of the theme deck. So, also in the movie theme format, you are allotted to use, depending on the tournament, where you're going, whoever is sponsoring that tournament will let you know if you can use Lorcanaverse cards in your deck or not. So, for those who do not know, Lorcanaverse cards are specific cards created for the world of Lorcana. So, that means they do not appear in any Disney film. So, of course, all these characters and everything, these Dreamborns, the Floodborns, and everything are Lorcanaverse cards, because they're characters that were created for Lorcana, but they come from a different IP. They come from a Disney film or a Disney show or something like that. So, Lorcanaverse cards only exist in the universe of Lorcana. So that's your Chromacons, like Amber Chromacon, Amethyst Chromacon, your Hidden Ink Caster, the Location, the Great Illuminary. Those are all Lorcanaverse cards. So, before you attend a movie-themed tournament, always check with the host on whatever game store it's at, whether or not they are allowing Lorcanaverse cards in the decks, and then you can build accordingly. So, finally, the last kind of theme deck that we have are gimmick or meme decks. These are normally like those combo decks. The decks that, require specific cards to make it happen. So that usually ranges from like 2 to 7 cards, maybe more, kind of just depends. And you usually combo into it. So that means they just go off with each other. They synergize so well with each other that it's like you do this thing, then this thing happens that allows this thing to happen again. So comboing means you're activating something that you can do multiple times in a row. Usually you're going infinite with it. So, and for those who aren't familiar with what going infinite means, it means that once you activate that particular combo, that particular synergy, it keeps going and going until you tell it to stop. Until you go, okay, I'm no longer activating it, and we're stopping the chain. So a really good example is a Merlin card. It is a 4-cost inkable, 1/5. It quests for 1. However, it states that anytime you return a character from your field to your hand, it quests for 1 more. So there's a gimmick that we'll explain in a later video, where you can combo with that and literally just name the number of lore you want him to quest for. So you can't just say infinite in any card game when you're doing something like this. You've got to give a number. So you always just give some outrageous number. So in this case, with this kind of combo, I would activate it, keep going until I hit 10,000. And look at him and be like, he quests for 10,001 now. And then I'd exert him in quest and win. So gimmick decks, these combo decks and stuff like that, they're super fun to play. When they work, they work. But when they don't work, they don't work. So, always keep that in mind when building some of these decks, especially when you're building themes. It's not always straightforward or very easy to make these consistent and make these run really well. So it will all depend on exactly what you are making in that moment. So now that we've gone over the different options of themes, some of the pros and cons, because with anything, there's pros and there's cons to these things. So some of the pros in playing themes, that they're fun. They're absolutely amazingly fun, especially if you really like the theme. If you're building a movie deck and you love, say, Peter Pan, you may not win often with that Peter Pan deck, but it'll do things and it'll be so much fun to play that it really doesn't matter. So, and then some of how these cards synergize. when it's inside of these themes. It synergizes in ways a lot of these meta decks do not, because they're trying to focus on more like consistency. Is this card really powerful on this turn? Things like that. They're not often looking at, okay, so if I play this, but if I have this, this, and this out at the same time, this kind of thing happens. They're not so worried about those things. So you get to do a lot of cool things that in the normal meta, you usually won't get to do. You won't see these crazy things. At least not yet. Not until we get more towards those themes. Once we do, I feel that things are going to get crazy. Crazy. So, another pro to these themes decks is in some cases, not all and not often, you can take these to bigger tournaments like set champs and things like that and win with them. Take the whole tournament. And that's wildly because nobody plays these decks in the meta. Nobody really sees them. Nobody knows how to fight against them. They don't know what you're doing, you know? So you can get in there and do this crazy thing and play this deck that nobody's seen and win because nobody knows how to properly play against it. So it could definitely work. Does it work often? Most likely not. In my experience, it hasn't. There's been a couple here and there that I've been able to secure on a good theme deck, but not in a consistent way. So, but because of that, it leads us into a couple of the cons. You know, one of the cons is that if you do take theme decks to these tournaments, to your locals, to your set champs, or wherever else, the moment people know what you're doing, the room realizes, what's going on and that they've seen it, it makes it a lot easier for them to combat against it in most cases. So how they alter their cards, what cards they want to play on turn 1, 2, 3, that's going to change as they learn what you're doing and strategize against it. And that's when a lot of these meta decks, because of how consistent they are and how they do the things that they do, can really just edge us out of the competition. You know, just really kind of just beat us down, depending on the theme deck you're playing. So, always keep that in mind. Always keep that in mind. So, also, most theme decks, they don't have the required toolbox yet to compete in the current meta. So, what that means for players who don't know what, like, the toolbox is, those are different kinds of cards, different kinds of things that offer us answers to different scenarios. So the wider, the bigger the toolbox, the more tools in that box, the better the deck can be. So some of these theme decks, albeit have great character synergy and do what they want to do really well, but they don't always have sufficient answers for the opponent, for your opponent. You know, so your opponent also gets to kind of do what they want to do, and you just have to hope to race them in a lot of cases. So with theme decks, I would always approach a theme deck. If you're going to build one, play it competitively. Approach it from a fun standpoint that you're going to really enjoy this deck. Because otherwise, you may take a lot of L's, and that can be, you know, a little defeating sometimes. I know from a personal standpoint, sometimes it can be defeating. But if you always remember to have fun, you should never have a problem. And I'll be honest, too, my locals, anytime I show up with a funny gimmick deck or some kind of fun theme, the players love it. They love playing against it. They do not mind losing to it when it happens. And it just kind of adds this air of enjoyment to the night that we may not have seen if everyone was there just being really competitive. Because sometimes competitive tournaments, everyone's trying to have fun, but the stress from it can get you. And that's where these theme decks are really come in handy. You know, there's been nights where I'll go do a set champs. The one I didn't do well, and then I'll get together with some friends and we'll play some like multiplayer. We'll play some movie themes and just some fun gimmicky stuff just to kind of lighten the mood back up. You know, remind us we play this game because we love it, not because we want to win. Of course, we want to win, and we do play, you know, as hard as we can to try to secure those wins, but that's not the primary reason we play, at least for myself. I can't speak for anybody else, but for myself, I try to always remind myself, I love this game, so I'm going to keep playing it because I love it. So, and that's just a couple of the pros and cons. We'll get into specific pros and cons when we go over specific decks, because each theme has its own strengths and its own weaknesses. So we'll cover those in depth in future videos. So now that we've gone through all that, and we've talked about some of the heavy stuff, let's get on to some of my favorite theme decks and wildly why I play these. So, like I said, I play them because I enjoy them. I think they're fun. I want to bring all this information to you all because I would love to see the community shift towards these more. I would like to see these brewed more, these showing up more often, generate more buzz about them. Because there's so much we can do with this game that a lot of people haven't really explored in depth like we should. So, and that's why I'm bringing it. So, my top 5. We're going to start with my number 1. The one I've played the most, and I will play it a million times and a million more. And that is Brooms. It is awesome. It is so much fun to play. And I play it because I love the movie Fantasia. I love the music in that movie, especially the broom scene, when all the brooms are getting animated and they're all cleaning and causing this big ruckus, and the music that's playing there. So a lot of times when I'm playing this deck, that's what's running through my head, thinking about my moves, and it's like, and it's just nice. And, Brooms I've been playing since set 2, wildly got really good in set 4. We haven't seen much help for it since then, but hopefully in the future we will. But yeah, number 1, top favorite. My next favorite theme is the Queen, the character theme. Honestly, it's because of that iconic scene, Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. It just always gives me chills. Always just, fills me with that, it just, yeah, you guys get it. But I love how through this theme, it really showcases how vain the Queen really is. Really kind of brings that scene, in my opinion, to life. Because, here it is. The Queen, in her amazing arrogance, feels that she alone can win. She alone can quest for all. Get all of the lore. All of it. So it's fun that Ravensburger brought us this theme, this character theme, where we can really play it that way and be like, yeah, we're vain. Of course, we're the Queen. We're the best, So yeah, I love playing it. So next up, number 3, I don't think I have these pictures in order. I don't, is princesses. It's Disney. It's Disney. We gotta play princesses. It just comes with the territory, Disney plus princesses, synonymous. So, I absolutely adore them. There is quite a few different ways you can try playing them. You have multiple ink colors that have pretty much every ink color has a ton of princesses. So you can just kind of pick and choose how you want to make them synergize. My personal favorite is Amber Steel, but there is other ways to go about it. So it's easy to keep playing princesses and never really play the exact same deck twice, because there's just so many options, so many ways to go about it. And yeah, that's one of those decks that if you dive deep enough into and you really iron out its synergies, I think princesses could compete in the meta, given enough effort and time into it. So next after that is those Madrigals. Encanto happens to be one of my favorite movies. I love this. I love every bit of it. The soundtrack, the animation, all of it. So of course I had to play them in Lorcana. We got them in set 4. Set 5 gave us a little bit more. Nothing in set 6, but then set 7 came and gave us a bunch of different help for them specifically. So I have been brewing them a little bit. I plan on practicing and ironing out a list with them even more very soon, in the very soon future. Very soon. But I absolutely adore this theme. So, and then finally, with number 5, we have racers. So this is a theme I hadn't really considered at all. I believe set 6 gave us a bunch, set 5 gave us some, but there wasn't really anything cool that synergized them well or a way to make them really work. So with set 7 gave us some new cards, some new synergies, and some really cool tricky ways to deal with issues. And I just fell in love with the deck. So I've only brewed it a couple different times, played it handful of times. I am going to be visiting it again soon, of course, with this series. So, like I said, you know, today's video is more about a very, very small, brief look into all this. I plan on doing that deeper dive. Every week, we're going to start with my top 5 that I just named off, and then we'll move from there. So, the next video, expect it soon. It'll be about brooms as we deep dive into that theme deck and showcase how powerful it really can be. So, again, everyone, thank you so much for joining me, Mike at Lorcana Craze, and I will catch you all next time.